Hey guys, Dan Brusky here. I wanted to give you a quick video going through the announcements for week 2. There's a few things that I want to cover, so hopefully I can keep it short and sweet and give you the information you need, but obviously if you have any questions or there's anything I don't mention, please feel free to reach out as always. First thing, I want to go over kind of special exceptions for week 1. I tend to do this the first week of the course. What I want to do is give you guys time to acclimate to the assignments, to my own grading style, expectations, those sorts of things. So you'll notice on the grading that I've completed, some of you did great, got good scores. Some of you may be disappointed in your scores. What I did here was I deliberately graded, I don't want to say strictly, but you may not see a lot of grace in your grades for week 1. That's because I want you to see what you should expect going forward. Because I want to give you that opportunity to kind of get acclimated. Once we get into week 3, I'm going to go back to week 1, and I'm going to give everybody full credit for every week 1 assignment that was completed on time. In fact, what I'll probably do is, because I know some of you were having some issues with textbooks and stuff like that, what I'll probably do is, once we get into week 3, everything that was submitted for week 1 by the end of the week 2 due date. So that will be this Sunday. So everything submitted for week 1 by 11:59 p.m. Central Time this Sunday, January 29th, I won't count late, and you'll get full credit for as long as it's completed. That will not be the case going forward. Once we get in, now that we're in Unit 2, your Unit 2 work, I'm going to grade the way I graded week 1, but now you've got some feedback on your discussion boards, some feedback on your guided readings. Now you know kind of what to expect. You're going to get the grades that you get, but that first week I like to go back and just give you full credit for the first week if you get the stuff in, because I want you to have a chance to understand what the expectations are. So hopefully that's good news. So if we go to discussions, and we look at, let's just say for Unit 2 here, we'll look at this week's discussions. You've got your initial post instructions here, but as you scroll down, this peer interaction, this is what you need to do to get full credit for your interaction component of your discussion board score. You need to do 3 substantial posts in addition to your initial post, and these are the types of posts that would count as substantial. You don't have to do all of these. The 3 different posts don't have to be different types of posts. All 3 could be analyzing another student's post, but make sure you address its strengths, weaknesses, or shortcomings, build off their post, move the conversation forward, make your own contribution, maybe bring in some examples or some illustrations that you think of. Do something to move the conversation forward. That would count as substantial. You can ask questions. That's perfectly fine. If those questions are just clarifying what a student meant, then that's all you need to do. You can just ask the question. But if you're asking a question that is going to either require additional thought or it's going to require something from the student, you need to provide your own tentative answer to that question for the student to consider. Be honest, if you spend all the time working on your initial post and then someone comes along and asks you questions about your post that you hadn't even thought about, and you have to now go and do extra reading or research to answer those questions, you wouldn't like that. So give them an opportunity. Give them some suggestions for what an answer might be and ask them what they think about those tentative answers. That way you're not just compounding someone else's work for the discussion board. But other things you can do is you can make a separate post saying, okay, after this conversation, here's some things that I've thought about. Here's how I would revise my initial post. Make sure that's a separate post. Don't just edit your initial post. You can also post a kind of like a summary of the conversation. Just point out, oh, there seems to be maybe 3 or 4 different views here. This is what some people think, others think view 2, others, and just kind of synthesize everything for the discussion. That's another way to do it. The basic idea is you can't just say, I liked your post or I didn't like your post. Tell me why you liked it and build on it, or tell me what specifically was wrong with someone's post and why you think it was wrong. Give evidence for what you're claiming. I don't just want to see, thank you for posting, or hey, I like this, or hey, I agree. Remember, please, to use your discussion rubric. So that's going to be this thing here. Please pull this up while you're composing your discussion. And again, I recommend that you compose your discussion post, especially your initial post, in like Word or some document application, some word processor, something like that, so that you don't lose your post halfway through. Inevitably, some student will lose their progress. So just write that out, in Word or something, and then copy and paste it into the discussion board. But make sure you check your formatting, proofread it, any mistakes in grammar, spelling, syntax, punctuation. Make sure that you're making not just a citation of the textbook, like so-and-so says this, or Hamilton says such and such. Tell me why you agree or why you disagree. It says that you want to use a critical evaluation of the arguments. That's what you have to do to get full credit here. You actually have to tell me why you agree or disagree with what Hamilton says. A lot of you will cite Hamilton, but just kind of cite him as an illustration or something like that, or an example. Interact with what he says. Tell me why you agree or disagree. When it comes to scripture, it's really helpful for you to find scriptures, especially scriptures in the book that we're discussing, that support what you're saying in your post. Give me evidence from scripture and cite those verses that support. That's how you get full credit here. Interaction, again, we just discussed how to get full credit on that. And then the reflection, I'm basically looking at, did you answer the question in the prompt? Did you answer it fully? Is there some part of the prompt that you left out? That sort of a thing. If you answer it fully and your answer demonstrates that you understand what you're talking about, you'll probably get full credit here. So also this week we have an essay that you're going to have to write. So let's take a look real quick at the rubric for the essays. Again, I linked to these in the welcome announcement. If for some reason you're having trouble accessing it, just let me know and I'll send it to you. I know that you guys don't have the link down here for the rubric, but I can get this to you. So in order to get full credit, 100% on your essay, you need to basically fall into this category, the proficient category. You need to fall into the proficient category on each of these three criteria. So the first one is formatting. Proofread your essays. Like, I know you put a lot of time into writing them, but once you're done writing them, proofread it. Make sure there's no spelling errors, grammar areas, punctuation, anything like that. It's even helpful if you can. I mean, these are not long essays. If there's someone you can hand it to and have them proofread it for you, that can be very helpful. But proofread it. Make sure that it reads well. The next category, content and study. What I'm looking at here is really the structure of your essay. How is it organized? In general, your essay needs to have 3 parts. You should have an introduction, and that introduction should do at least 2 things. It should communicate your main point, which we usually call your thesis. Your thesis is that statement that you're going to try to convince me of in your essay. Most of the essay prompts are going to be questions or something like that. Your answer to that question is your thesis. So your thesis is a statement that you're making in response to the essay prompt that you're trying to convince the reader of. Your introduction should state that thesis, and ideally it will also provide sort of a roadmap of the essay. Here's the evidence I'm going to give, or here's sort of an outline of, first we're going to talk about this, then we'll talk about this, and then this. Or we see that this is true. There are 3 reasons why this is true. This, 1, 2, 3. Just give me sort of where are you going to go in your essay? When you give your reader a roadmap, that helps them process the essay along with you. It makes it much easier to follow. So your introduction should at least do those 2 things. Another thing that would be good to have in your introduction is some sort of taste of why is this important? Give your reader a little preview, some way to relate it to their own life, or something, some indication of why what you're saying here is important. That's a little bit more advanced in writing, has more to do with rhetoric, but if you can do that, that will increase the effectiveness of your essay. So definitely make sure you have an introduction. That can be a paragraph. It really only needs to be 2 or 3 sentences, honestly, but it should state your thesis. Here's what I'm going to argue for in this essay. Second, here's how I'm going to do that, and just giving me sort of a preview of where you're going. And if you can give me some sort of explanation for why this is important to think about, that's even better. So that's your introduction. Your body then should be based off of that roadmap. Here's what I'm going to do. And that's a little bit backwards because really you tend to write your introduction last after you've already written your argument out. But you want to structure your essay around different arguments or different points that you're making that lead to a conclusion. And so your body I should be able to outline the points that you're making. Point number 1, point number 2, point number 3. How many points you have in your argument, I would expect that to be about how many paragraphs that you have. Remember, I think these essays are around 500 words or so. This is not a lengthy essay, but be thoughtful in how you arrange it. If you don't arrange it in a way that's easy to outline, it's hard to follow. Okay, so if you're losing points on content and study, that means that there was something in the organization that felt confusing or hard to follow. Each paragraph should have a clear point. And then you should provide supporting evidence for that point. That's really all you need to do. The final thing that you're graded on here is your reflection. And this, just like the discussion, this has to do with how fully did you answer the prompt? Did you only answer part of it, or did you really answer the full thing? And can I tell from what you've written that you understand what you're talking about, that you've actually put thought into this? Or have you just grabbed a bunch of quotes from Hamilton and a bunch of scriptures that match a keyword and thrown them all together? Is there evidence here that you've thought through this and that you know what you're talking about and that you fully answered the essay prompt? So that's how you get a good score on your essay rubric. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Another thing that I want to just make you aware of is the attendance requirement for the course. I know this is an online course, and so you're not really present, you're where you are, but the way that attendance is counted in this course is there's really 2 different ways you can be counted as present for a week. One of them is to just submit some assignment. If you submit something, an actual assignment in the course, then you were present that week that you submitted that. If you are unable to submit something and you know that, just send me an email. Just say, hey, I won't be able to make any submissions this week. It would be good to tell me why, but as long as you send me that information that, hey, I realize the due date is here, I won't be able to get it in on time. Even though you might have a late assignment, I can still count you present. There is, in the syllabus, a 75% attendance requirement for this course. If you're going to pass this course, you cannot be absent for more than 2 weeks. So if there are more than 2 weeks in which you do not submit an assignment and you don't email me about that, then you are unable to pass the course. So make sure that you stay on top of that. It just requires an email. That's all it requires to be counted present. So Please be aware of that. Also, late penalties. I want to kind of clarify how that works. I discussed this in my welcome announcement, but just to clarify, because some people were a little bit confused, you can always submit an assignment late. I'm not going to tell you can't submit an assignment. Every day that assignment is late, another 10-point deduction will be applied. So if you have an assignment, let's say your essay is due on Sunday, and you turn it in at 12:41 a.m. Monday, well, that is a day, that is the next day, that is a day late. I know it's only like 40 minutes, but that is a day late. The most you can get on that assignment at that point is 90%. If you have a Sunday assignment and you turn it in on Wednesday, well, that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is 3 days late. So the best grade you can get on that assignment at that point is a 70%. The reason why I'm pretty strict and I don't give a lot of exceptions to these late penalties is because if you turn something in late, you had more time to work on it than someone who got it in on time. And it's just unfair to them to have to get the same assignment done in less time, and then you end up getting the same type of a score. So I'm pretty strict about this late penalty thing. I don't waive these, really. Now, if you're in the hospital, and you're unable to get to your computer, we can work something out with that. If you're in the hospital for 2 weeks and now there's no credit because it's more than 10 days, like, let me know that. We'll figure out a way to get back on track. But I just want you to be aware of how the late penalties work. The next thing that I want to talk about are the guided readings. I want to clarify what the point of these assignments are. I want you to have your book with you when you do these assignments. Think of these as open book quizzes to some extent. The point here is to push you to the information in each chapter that is most important. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't important information that isn't mentioned in the guided readings. There may be important stuff in there that doesn't get mentioned, but if it's mentioned in the guided reading, make sure you understand it, okay? Technically, you can get a good score on the guided readings just by reading the question, and oftentimes there's a page reference there, so just going to that page, reading what it says, and then literally just taking the answer from the book and submitting it. Most of that will work, and you'll get a good grade for that. Be sure you understand it, though. Like, if you have a question about what this is saying, or if you feel like you don't understand it, let me know that. But the point of this assignment is to guide you to very important information, to kind of say, hey, think about this. There will sometimes be a connection between what is highlighted in the guided reading and what is asked about in the discussion board or the essay. So we kind of try to connect these assignments together. Ideally, when you come to a new unit, like Unit 2 or let's say Unit 3 next week, kind of the order in which you do things, the first thing to do would be to just come to the modules page, go down here to Unit 2, and just open this introduction page. This is the first thing you should be doing. Get a feel, read all of this, get a feel for where we're going this week. We have 2 modules. One is on the Exodus proper, the rescue from Egypt. The other module is also in the book of Exodus, but this is about the journey through the wilderness here, especially the Mount Sinai event. So my recommendation for the order throughout the week would be start with this introduction page, then do your textbook reading, and maybe as you're doing the reading, use the guided reading exercises to kind of get you through it. You still need to read all of the textbook. Just reading the pages related to the guided reading, you can't report that chapter as fully read. Read the full chapter. Read it intelligently. You can read quickly different things, but just make sure you understand the chapter. Then once you've got your reading done, you can move to your discussion. If you want to start with your discussion, that's fine. It has the first due date. Your initial post is due before anything else. If you want to get that out of the way, that's fine. I'm just saying your grade on the discussion board will tend to be better if you've already done the reading, because you're going to need to refer to the reading. Then once your discussions are done, the last thing I would recommend is your essay. Your essay is really supposed to be kind of a capstone, and not every week will have an essay. So once you get to the essay, the point of the discussion board is to kind of tease out these ideas, bounce them off of other students, get some feedback, and then often the essay will be related in some way to the discussion board. So using the discussion to kind of test out what you're going to do in your essay, that's a good strategy. Again, the discussion boards are much more informal, much less structured. It's more kind of a free-flowing conversation. The essays have a lot more structure. You need to follow the formatting and the structure recommended in the Midwestern Style Manual. That is really a more formal is the best way to put it. That's a more formal assignment, okay? That's the difference between the two. So that would be my recommendation for how to go about completing the assignments during a given week. All right, that's really all that I wanted to cover here. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. But I hope you had a good week, first off. I hope that it's good news that we'll be going back and adjusting the grades for week 1. If you got feedback that you don't understand, let me know. But please make sure you're accessing the feedback. You should be able to, for the discussions, go into the discussion post and access basically where I'm grading you. It has that discussion rubric built in, and so anytime I didn't give you full credit, I explained, what you could have done to get more points. And on the essays, same type of a thing. So what I'll usually do on the essays is leave feedback on the essay document itself that you'll be able to view in the document viewer in Canvas. But there will be an essay there. There will be a rubric for the essay as well, where I'll give you some comments. If you can't find feedback and you didn't get the full credit, let me know. I want to make sure you get the feedback. All right, well, that should be more than enough. I hope it's straightforward. I hope you're doing well. If you're getting a little bit nervous about, oh man, there's a lot of, he wasn't joking, there's a lot of reading here. Yes, find ways to do the reading efficiently. Like I said, audio Bibles are fine, as long as you're paying attention to what you're hearing. the textbook is harder to do audio because, you know, I don't think there's an audiobook of it. But if you have text to speech or something like that on an electronic copy, that may be helpful. Maybe helpful to, you know, if you're married, have a spouse read to you while you're doing dishes or something like that. I don't know. Maybe you can work something out. Anyways, if you have concerns, reach out. I want to make sure you get through this semester well. All right. Well, that's it. Hope you have a good week. As always, reach out with any questions. Don't forget that your first discussion board post is always due on Thursday, and all the other assignments are due Sunday, 11 p.m., 11:59 p.m. Central Time. Have a great week.